I've always gotten into real estate deals more based on risk than just trying to go after a certain amount of money. And I tell people all the time, look at decide on the deal based on your risk. Certainly don't get into anything you're not financially capable of. But even then, once you found a deal that's within your financial withstanding, your decision of whether you're going to do that deal or not has nothing to do with the value that's come off of it. It really is, can you manage the risk? And can you get in and out of it or sustain it, during the time? But that's more financial. But measurement and analysis of risk is more of a deal. And I've learned that more from, like, structuring these performance statements for different type of entities, commercial, residential, what have you, over so many years. When we get into the risk discussion out of those performers, I've seen deals that look great in the performer, cash flow, a lot of value there. But when you start looking at the risk, it really deters you from wanting to invest in it.
Came here in 2007, right in the middle of the crazy crisis. If your heart is not into it, do not do it. That's what I always tell them.
If you're making around $70K, look to be able to qualify for a home somewhere around $250, $275 in that bracket. As
onions and juices and all that, and put some lemon and onion and you make him drink it, right?
And Alex, all my listings need a video. All of them.
Everyone wants to get into real estate investing, and they want to know what's a good deal, right? What's really make a good deal? Is it the location? Is it the property? Is it the vision behind? But stay tuned, because that's what we're going to learn today. A lot of people wants to get in there, but you really need to pay attention when you start investing your time and your money. So that's what we're going to learn today. So welcome everybody to Let's Keep It Real. Now, I'm Danielle Bilumbu, your host, and I'm here with my friend
Abu Jabi with AMP Linden. How y'all doing?
Great. So today we have a great guest who has decades, not decade, decades. I hope you hear me right, of experience. And we are here with Mr. Rod Taylor. How are you?
Hello. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Great. So he's the founder of Point Services LLC, and he's been in business since 2007. Oh my God, that makes me old. Saying that, right?
Yeah.
So he's been you've been buying and leasing property, real estate, developing land, but also construction.
Yes.
So talk to us about what exactly do you do?
Yes. So my background is, my degree is in industrial engineering. That's where my analytical side comes from, of analysis. In high school, I started working on construction as a job with a custom builder, learning how to do trim carpentry, various aspects of carpentry, and that was kind of my first exposure to real estate, I guess you could say, from a building and construction perspective. And after I got out of college, probably within a year or two, I started. I knew a few pro football players, ex-pro football players, who were investing in real estate, and so they had a builder that they were already working with, and a title company and a lender. Very nice network. This was in 90, right at 2000. And so I went in with those guys. I had 10 grand, and we built our first duplex together, sold it, and I really liked the return off that. And from there, I drove the builder crazy, and the broker just asking a gazillion questions about. I'm an industrial engineer, so process was my digestion. So I got into the process, and I documented everything. I think I sent you guys over a deal analysis, and so I've been building that document for about 15 years. Just going back, tweaking my process of how I do everything from sourcing the deal all the way through analysis, and of course turning the deal. And you'll see how I broke it out in the way I did on origination, deal development, and kind of executing the deal. And so from there, in the early 2000s, from just being a part of that first building deal, I started sourcing my own properties. And so at that time, I was living in Atlanta, and I would this was before the internet was real heavy, and so I literally called banks. I had a little fax machine, and I would give them a list of zip codes. And so I would have those banks, and you can still do this today. Banks will send you a list of their foreclosures. As long as you give them the zip codes and you have some reasonable relationship with them, they'll share with you their list of foreclosures, especially the ones that they have a difficult time getting off the books.
So hold on, let me ask you that. So for those, so you just randomly call, like for somebody who's watching is looking to get into, you just randomly call, even if you're not a client of them, you call Bank of America, the branch down the street. You say, hey, I'm an investor and I'm looking to purchase.
You have a list of foreclosures.
Do you have a list of foreclosure? But those the foreclosure are currently on the market or not on the market, or pre-foreclosure they're working on getting in there.
So it is a mixed bag. Some banks will not give it to you at all. White Bank and actually Bank of America during that time in Atlanta. Some banks you give them the zip code. Some banks will not give you their pre-foreclosures.
Okay.
They'll force you to have to go to the courthouse steps to see those.
First, yeah.
Some banks will give you both the pre-foreclosures as well as whatever they've had foreclosed that's been on the list for a long time. So you get a mixed bag of both.
So who do you need to talk to when you call? Because, most people, they would have the general number.
Yeah.
But then if you don't have a name, what's the title of the person?
Mortgage lending.
The mortgage lender,
so
that's it?
You want to actually speak to the mortgage lender, introduce yourself. The thing I would advise is definitely go in.
Okay.
If you can go to the bank or, and actually have a face-to-face, certainly be dressed apart because, if a bank is going to release information like that, they certainly want to have some frame of reference of who they're giving it to. So it's ideal to be able to tell them, hey, this is my LLC. I'm a serious investor, and I've always been a freelance investor. I've never had a real estate license of any sort in the time that I've been working in real estate.
Do you have to have money in the bank? Do you have to prove them that you do have some cash? You just say, hey, This is my LLC, I'm legit?
No, I literally would. During that time, I would call all these banks. They would fax me lists of their foreclosures. I would spend, and at that time, you didn't have GPS.
Yeah.
So I had my map books. I would go through and write out my path. I'd take off work for a full day, and I would ride Atlanta for 8 hours. My wife went with me one time when she was pregnant, and it drove her crazy. She was like, I don't know how you do this. This is so long, but it was work for me. I had to stop and had lunch, and I would digest my information and stuff, and so I would find great deals. I developed a motto during that time that the best deals are not on the market.
No, they're not. Absolutely
and
not.
So that mantra really carried forward with me even to this day, that the best deal. I'll tell you another technique I use here recently that really supports that mantra, which is TxDOT. I think I was telling you about that a bit. So in the state of Texas, as a citizen, you can petition for the state of Texas to any property that the state of Texas owns. If they cannot justify a use for that property, as a citizen of the state of Texas, you could petition for them to do what's called put that property into surplus.
Oh.
Meaning either they have to identify, the state or a state agency has to identify use of that property. If they cannot, based on your petition for them to put it in the surplus, they have to sell it, or they have to put it up for sale. Now, there's a whole process behind that.
Okay, that's what I was about to ask you.
And it's a 3-step process where, and first off, quite often they'll deny you on your first. It took me 3 submittals on. I'm actually working on a deal on the corner of Beltway 8 and Alameda.
Oh wow, that's extremely
highly sought after property. And so it took me a long time to just, number one, find the state agency down in Austin that controls all of TxDOT properties. It took me several months to get that information, and finally got to the right office. And so I got a good network of folks who you deal with on all property owned by TxDOT down there. And so the first step is you petition. So they give you the little application you fill out, you submit that. Once, and it took me 3 times, they finally accepted in terms of putting the property in the surplus. And so from that point, you go through a 3-stage bidding process. The preliminary work you have to do before that, as the petitioner, you have to pay for the appraisal, and you have to pay for the inspection of the the appraisal and the survey. I'm sorry. And so you have to do a full boundary survey. You pay for the appraisal. Once that's done, the state of Texas certifies that, and they will basically use that to go to any other state agency as the first step and request if they have any need of the property. If they do not need, if any state agency cannot justify use of that property in the near future, they can't say, yeah, we'll do something with it in a year or two. They have to justify a need for it and be able to move forward on that.
And the need needs to be now. It doesn't have to be 5-10 years down the line.
Within the next few months. I think they would have to move on it within 3 months of stating there is a need. If they can't justify a need, then and if they do, if a state agency does say yes, we would like to take advantage of this property. At that point, TxDOT doesn't just allow them to take it over, that other agency to take it over. It goes through a bid within the state. Now, if no one bids on it or no one states a need, then the deal moves to the second stage, which they bid the property out to any adjacent property to that lot. So you have to abut that property. They put it up for bid. It's a public notification to those properties. And at that point, they have 3 weeks to place a bid. And once that bid is awarded or whatever, now if the property is purchased during that second stage, any cost that you've invested,
that's what I was about to ask.
At this point they call you a partner of the state, and so
they'll refund you.
They'll refund you at the closing table. They'll refund you any cost that you've incurred. Now, if no one purchases at that second stage, then it goes to the third and final stage, which is where it goes to a public auction, and you as the surplus or the petitioner, or the partner, you basically get to you have to pay for the public notification to be published.
How much that cost?
It was expensive. So at first they were trying to make me go through the Houston Chronicle. And I would tell anybody, don't try to avoid using the Houston Chronicle at all if you can. Why? Because number one, there's a certain amount of language you have to put in there, and they charge you by the word. And so it was going to be $6,000 to publish a public notification for 3 weeks in the newspaper.
But so this part of the cost, they're going to reimburse you, right, eventually?
Now, if someone purchases the property in that public notification, if you don't win the bid and someone else wins it, you get reimbursed everything. Now, I went back to the state and I said, hey, I know this property is in Harris County, but can we use because there are local small papers, the green, what is it called? Green sheet. So you can, and I asked them, can I use a green sheet to just do my public notification? They said, no, you can't use green sheet, but there is a Sugar Land location that actually advertises in that area too. I didn't know that, but the state obviously did. So they got me down to like $2,000. I paid $2,000. We did a public auction. The other beauty of when I did this, it was right around Christmas. So you get to dictate the start date of that notification, and then it'll run for 3 weeks. So I chose Christmas Eve. I chose the whole holiday period so people wouldn't, and so I ended up winning the bid on this property. And so once you win the bid, it takes about 2 months for them to get the sign-offs within the state. At the end of that, they actually have to go and get the governor's signature as well to release the property. And so that took from probably about February till at least late April, early May for them to finally get the governor's signature. Now this whole process for me, it took almost 2 years. And 6 months of that was me just working through the boundary survey because this was a really old property. There was some encroachments on it, so I had to have the surveyor kind of resolve all that. But normally, expect at least about close to a year. I would tell anybody. And so once you win the bid, they award you the letter saying you win the bid, and then it's up to you to identify the date of closing. And so I've had some snafus with this deal where I'm actually waiting on a call to sell that property right now. It's a gas station property. I think I sent you guys the marketing study that I had done on it. So we use the AI to generate that whole marketing study. That was my first time really getting heavy into AI, using it to build my marketing study data on my, traffic counts and things of that nature. But, that's a great text dot deal. Now, I may end up doing multifamily on that instead of a gas station. But, those are the types of deals you can get from text dot. Best deals are not for sale. I've been passing that property for over 20 years, and I've never seen a for sale sign on it.
Is the purchase of the land based on, like they always say, you make the money on the purchase?
You make the money going in.
Yeah.
So, of course, so I haven't actually purchased it from TxDOT yet. I'm actually in delinquent on that, to be honest with you. Right now, I haven't closed on it because I wanted to your point, I wanted to get to the right construction loan on this deal.
Okay.
Ideally, my first option was to flip it to someone who wants to build a gas station. Or at the very least, I'll purchase it, do light development in terms of put the curb cuts in. I'll get it replatted from 3 parcels to 1 parcel, and I'll get tall signage approval where you can see the gas station sign from Beltway 8. And with that, which is another thing about what I've learned in these 20 plus years of doing this, just doing light development work on a property, you can tremendously increase the value of a property.
What is considered light development?
Just so getting design work done, and I'll give you a better example in a minute. But on this property, just purchase the property, get a design done where you show the curb cuts. You'll see that in the marketing study I sent you guys, where it shows a mock-up of what the site will look like. But I will just get curb cuts designed on it, get it replatted with the city from 3 parcels to 1, and just get signage approved. And that takes a few months. You have to have, of course, a civil engineer and an architect doing some of your and actually a civil engineer can do most of the design work for something like that. And it typically costs maybe less than $5,000 with engineering design costs and fees to the city for submittals. But that will take that property from a $430,000 purchase price property to $800,000 value.
Easy.
Now,
this is light.
Now, I haven't turned that deal yet. Now, a deal I did, I live in Siena. So property I've been passing for years, and once again, never been for sale. It's a community right outside of Siena. All the homes are on 1-acre lots. So I've been seeing this 1-acre lot passing on Trammell Fresno, right by Highway 6. And I noticed, and I like deals like that because they're not highly sought after. You kind of got to know what you're doing. And so I contacted the owner and asked him if they wanted to sell the property. He wanted $135,000. I got him down to like $115,000 for a 1-acre lot. In this neighborhood, you put in your own sewer and septic. And so I purchased the property cash for $115,000. I went to my same civil engineer, and I had him to do there's a designer called Dennis Satter. He's a Mediterranean home designer. And so these are wide, big lots. And so I had a nice 6,000 square foot Mediterranean home designed for that lot. So I only did the mechanical, electrical, plumbing designs. I got my site plan. He did floor plan and, of course, the elevation. That cost me about $13,000 to get that design work done. I paid another $2,000 for a survey, and I think I paid another $1,500 to get soil testing done. I put the land with the designs, survey, completed soil test back up for sale for $220, sold it for $205 in like 2 months.
Wow.
I remember you telling me.
No, I went out there and cut the grass a few times. I rented one of the driver, the big zero turn. I cut the grass a few times myself, But that was it. That was all. No construction, nothing like that. And I think I walked away with that from that deal with a little over like $40,000. Once everything was paid. So those are that mantra. The best deals are not for sale, and you don't have to always get into construction. Sometimes, like this house I had designed, it would have been a $600,000 budget to build that house. At that time, I couldn't afford a $600,000, not even a construction loan to build it. it would have been a bit too much for me. And so I got in at the level, I set my in and out at the level of what I could afford on that deal, which is another big statement I always make, is that just because it's a good deal does not mean it's a good deal for you.
For you.
And so, knowing where to temper yourself means everything to getting in and out of deals. And never get in a deal unless you know how to get out of it.
So always have your exit strategy.
Always have your exit strategy.
Is that why you never got a realtor license?
I think that's more just my personality. I work in oil and gas as an IT program manager. I manage projects for a living. I've been doing that for 30 solid years. And real estate has always been fun for me. And I think, and I make pretty good money, but I think just naturally I always just wanted to keep real estate as my money maker, but my fun money maker. That's something I can enjoy doing. I think the minute I try to leave my job and do that full time, it would be more of it'll just be more aggressive for me. I would have to morph. I would have to either become a broker or, get more substantial and certified. And I'm just not that guy. I've been doing what I do for 30 years, and I've never gotten any certifications in project management or nothing.
Really?
And I make over $250,000 a year. I get hired.
Talk that talk.
And it's because I live by my skills. And so I am kind of a Frank Sinatra kind of guy. I like to do it my way, and I just stay in my lane. Now I'm ready to morph beyond that. I'm 53 years old. I'm ready to kind of move away from the corporate environment. And so over the last 15 years, I've developed that deal analysis process I gave you guys. I took that, and my brother-in-law has always worked with these different consulting companies, Deloitte, Accenture, Price Waterhouse. He worked with Ernst & Young. So he helped me to take my process and become more of a deal analysis with it. And so I built in Excel a performance statement that allows me to analyze deals. And of everything I've done in the last 20-something years, even with the money I've made building, and I built over 19 houses. I've owned properties back in Mississippi, where I'm from, so I was heavy in the rental industry for a while.
Okay.
So what happened?
I did pure. In 2019, I decided to sell them. I bought all these properties for cash over several years with the hopes of setting up kind of a bit of a real estate trust, so to speak, and to leverage the income from those properties because I owned them outright. My risk was low. So I wanted to use that income and use the value of all those properties to basically get a line of credit across all of them, reinvest that, and use the money to pay for it while I'm still just working and doing my thing for my family and just let that kind of grow. The banks were not willing to lend me. I couldn't get loans on individual properties because they felt like because each one was less than $100K in value, these were small World War II bungalow houses. And so these were, very simple deals for me. I did a lot of my work myself to get them ready. But I had a very strong relationship with Section 8, the director in the town that I'm from. And so I could pick up a house, and in 30 days, I'm cash flowing. And so it was a very good cash flow. But because I could never get to a point where a lender would give me the money across either all of them together or just individually, I could never really develop that part of it. And so by 2019, I said that, just a little income coming in each month was not enough. I should not have done that.
So would you say that's not necessarily true? Because we hear that a lot. You can get a loan and use your property as a collateral. So it's not really 100%
I tried.
true.
I was trying.
It's very difficult.
It was during that time, and this was 2014 to 2019.
That's probably for those particular homes that you had.
I think that I definitely think it was. It was that area I was in, and so so for me it was the low risk allowed me to be in a great position. And during that time I got laid off, so it bode well for my circumstances. I was able to live off that income, but it was not. I just didn't see it as very growth capable. And so I said, let me take my money out of this. And I'm a wild guy, so I kind of I took some of that money, and I own antique cars too. I buy muscle cars and refurbish them and build them. I don't sell them; I just keep them. So I have some.
How many car garages do you have in your
No, I don't have. Well, I sold some now, but I have. I still have 2 left.
Okay.
Because I'm rebuilding, so to speak. I wanted to get down to just unique cars, so I sold off actually 75%, and I'm just down to 2 cars now. I got a Charger, 73 Charger, and I'm redoing a Chevelle right now. And I'm already looking for my next car already. But anyway,
Chevelle look good. I like the paint on the Chevelle.
So I put some of that money into that, and just I would tell anybody this: when you're in real estate, or at least for the model that I've been pushing, which is you work and you use real estate to do things. I wouldn't say it was a mistake, but for me, real estate always just gave my family, the life that my income from work really wouldn't provide. Like if we went to Punta Cana a few months ago, stuff like that, things that I really want to do, I use my real estate income from that. And I really should have not done that. I should have, really reinvested that money more, but
there's nothing wrong from time to time.
Man, listen,
because we're not only living to make money, right?
She go.
You know what?
It is true. We're not only
facts.
living to make money, right? So it's
Yeah.
good to have us set and you already established and you have all your savings and investment. But sometimes to time is good, because what's the point to just accumulate that? You work in.
You're exactly right. And I have those memories of all the trips and the things I've done with my children and over the years. And so I wish I just would have held on to some of my assets a little longer instead of, because when you sell your assets, when you have a low risk asset that's cash flowing, it's
pretty good. No matter, you kind of recession proof at this point, right?
Yeah, that is you.
And it appreciates.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what matter what the market does, because as long you do have your solid brick.
Yes. Yep.
And
so I was operating in a silo too. I didn't have people like you guys. Like there was a network. I kind of moved in and out of different networks. I would find my little models and stick to that for a few years. Like I did the rental properties for several years, and I've been on this, just find raw land and develop like the home, the property and the plans that I sold near Sienna. I still own those plans, and so now I just need to go. I can go find another lot that fits and just get a new site plan. Everything else is done.
Oh yeah, because you already use it, so you can reuse it.
Just get a new site plan to put it on that lot and do the same rinse and repeat model. So I love those models. When you've invested in the plans, like I have $15,000 worth of product that I can keep pimping, for lack of a better word. And so
you teach us one way of finding deals. Which other way would you find deals?
Bird dogging.
Okay,
Break
it down for the listener.
Yeah, you never heard the term bird dog? I know you have. Yeah. So bird dog is like literally just riding certain areas. So like I'm in the process now trying to stand up a dispensary, and so I may end up purchasing one. I was telling the boo, but I've been looking for in the area of Midtown, and so when you have a particular area you like, you just ride that area. My first property on my own, from generating the list of foreclosures from the banks, I would go and ride all these communities, and that was where I got really introduced to bird dogging, because I was like, man, I'm seeing like a lot of other properties, as I'm riding, and I need to start writing down these addresses. You see lots in between. I would go to these older white communities, and it would be a lot sitting in between 2 houses, and I would started writing down the address of the lot. I go and look up the owner, and I literally would go to their house, cold, knock on the door. Hey, my name's Rod Taylor. I noticed you own this lot at this address. And so most of the time it was next door. And I said, hey, I would like to make an offer on your lot to purchase it. And they're like, oh, okay. And I was aggressive. I said, I'll give you $7,000, and most of the time I would buy a 1/4 acre lot, like this was in like 2002, 2003 for $10,000 cash. And I would buy that lot. The first couple of deals I did, I went to a modular company, and I got a construction loan and had a modular home built on the property. It was very difficult doing that in those older white neighborhoods. They was mad as hell at me about building a modular home, even though I got it approved. And so I started working with builders after a while. But bird dogging, just riding and looking at those properties and documenting. Like now, the way I ended up, and I hadn't been on near that property, near that Alameda, Beltway 8 area, because I don't ride Alameda. I live in a different area. But 2 years ago, I started taking different ways home and just looking at properties. And so I said, man, I hadn't been up Alameda in a long time. I was riding, and I remember that lot from years ago. It was shaped like a trapezoid. And I said, man, I'm going to follow up on that. It took me about 4 months to find out who owned it, which it turned out to be TxDOT. And that's what kind of, took me down the path of finding out where the office was, getting in touch with the crew of people that managed that whole situation. I can give you guys that information to all the TxDOT contacts down there, but and that kind of evolved into the deal that I'm doing with them now on that property. So bird dogging is major, man. It could lead to big things.
Which other way? I'm here I'm taking notes. You're talking, and I'm just writing it down.
You sifting me like weed up in here. So
I am picking up the brain. I'm here to learn.
So I like what is it called? 10X Realty. Do you guys go on there?
No.
And 10X Realty and LoopNet.
Yeah, I look at LoopNet.
LoopNet. So I look at LoopNet too. I've never purchased anything off LoopNet, but I like the deals. And I also I look at LoopNet, 10X, HAR. I look at that stuff every day.
Okay.
Every day I read that, like how people read the news. I don't read the newspaper, but I read that stuff. I look at deals every day.
You like to make money.
Yeah, man. but it's a thrill for me though. I have a thing for sale signs, and so the other thing I do just out of nature, whenever I go visit an area, the area I live in, there isn't a for sale sign that don't show up in my area that I don't know what that stuff costs. I call on everything, and it's for me. You're constantly in research. You gotta, for you to really know you have good footing. For you to have good footing, you gotta constantly do research. In my opinion, that's looking at. I remember I worked downtown off Dallas Street, and there's a lot right down Dallas. It was a 1 acre lot. And I don't. It doesn't bother me that something is out of my range. I'm not. Typically my research is not for the purpose of just buying. But I called on the property, and when I saw the name Transwestern, I knew it was going to be way out of my range. But they wanted $1 million for a 1 acre lot on West Dallas downtown, which shocked the daylights out of me. But I call on all those type of properties where I work, where I live, where I travel to. If I'm just going to a restaurant or something, I always look at the prices of everything from a real estate perspective, and so that kind of leverages me. And I do have some aha moments like, wow, I actually can afford that deal, and so I anytime the reason why I took this podcast is because I don't turn down opportunities to network, because it always leads to something that could potentially be either educational or a potential deal.
So people can randomly call you and say, hey, I have this, or maybe could you join JV with me?
Yeah.
And then I don't have experience, but I need your input. You have those calls from time to time? So
for me, the real estate, because I'm not like a agent or anything, and I needed to keep some type of cash flow coming into Point Services, I got into analyzing real estate deals for people. And so I've really built that part of my business out where it kind of took my time away from investing. And my clients are like architects. Architects are my biggest clients because they have clients who own property that they don't. You'll be amazed at how many people own property and they have no idea what to do with it. And there's a systemic issue with people who own properties. They don't want to invest money to find out what they can do with that property. And so what I do with my deal analysis system, which is it's basically a pro forma. Operating costs, like what all costs you're paying to just hold that property, cutting the grass, insurance, taxes, what have you. I break down that. I total that. I break down cost of investment after that. I go to the next section and I break down what the forecast of revenue that could come off that investment you've made. I come under that and I build a your financial piece, whether it's construction loan first that flows into a permanent loan. I show that, and then I give a P&L at the end of that. And so I analyze single family, multifamily, office, industrial, commercial, retail, big box development. And so over the years of doing this, I've done. I had a lady here a few years ago that she couldn't really afford my services, and so she was doing a 6-court indoor sports facility. And I told her, hey, thank God for you. This is the age of data means something. It has a value. So I said, if you give me all your data, I'll consider that payment to analyze your deal for you. And so she had a 2-court facility, and she wanted me to leverage her whole process, her whole business model from January 1st to December 31st, all the activities she has on that 2-court. I took that, and we basically did a preliminary design of a 6-court facility and all that, and I built a performer for that facility. And so her data was tremendously valuable in that sense. So I offset, what normally would have been a probably $5K bill, and I just got paid the data instead. And so if anyone comes to me and they want to build a 6-court indoor sports facility with I'm talking bells and whistles and everything. And so I've shopped that with I've done analysis for City of Columbia, South Carolina. I did a 8-court facility for them in terms of analyzing the deal. But basically, architects are my biggest clients, but I work with all types of investors, real estate brokers, and so I can bring my fees down real low if they want just a subset, view of what the cost could potentially look like. And so the other part of that is my knowledge of doing this for so many years. It allows me to scenario for you. The performer is really just a crystal ball. It's a financial outlook, and I build it. It shows a 5-year or 8-year outlook on from day one of paying the first cost to, and I show everything. And so we can scenario with that. I can give you all types of scenario and give you a report out at the end of that, and so I'm in the process of converting that to a digital application now.
There's going to be some AI in there?
Yeah, so it'll be offered as a software as a solution. It'll sit in the cloud, and so when you build out your details in there will be an AI component that builds out your report, and basically, you can start that AI piece will basically talk to you. It'll tell you about your risk. It'll help give you risk details around, your cash flow is low compared to compared to the loan expense that you're carrying. It'll do things like that based on the parameters that I set up in it.
So pretty much, how do you calculate your deals and which type of risk you have to put in there, because you have to pay attention, especially if you put some of your money in.
Absolutely. So once you build out the performer, like I just said, when you look at what your deal could potentially cash flow at.
Okay.
So you have a certain cash flow after you're paying your finance costs and your hold fees in terms of any operating costs. It gives you a P&L, and so that I'll tell that and it's really not AI. It's really just more of an algorithm that I've created to say, okay, compare same way you get metrics out of something. Mm-hmm. This is like just comparing your metrics. That's all it's doing. It's saying, for the cash flow that you have, your cap rate is is 5%, and so I'll put a mechanism in there to say compare cap rate to what the normal cap rate is for either I'll reference like what the normal cap rate should be for construction projects.
For those that are first-time investor, could you break down what's the cap rate?
Cap rate is operating costs divided by your income, by the revenue that you have flowing in. Normally, you want to have like a 7 to 9% cap rate on a like a single family or a multifamily investment deal, like residential type deal. You want your cap rate to be around 7 to 9%. You can play with that a little bit more if it's commercial, but there are certain parameters that impact where your cap rate where it is. sometimes just because you are between 7 and 9 doesn't mean you're healthy, because you may have certain risks that exist. So it is a deal by deal situation. But that is the whole point of the performer, is to give you a platform and a crystal ball to really, look at what you're getting yourself into before you get yourself into it. Yeah. Yep.
So with all the deals you've done, I know there got to be some deals out there that didn't go.
Oh man, I got that right now. As a matter of fact, I was in court about 2-3 weeks ago. I had to sue. So me and another business partner put up 47 grand cash, and we built a house together, and it was his deal. And I normally, one of my old policies I broke is I normally don't invest in deals that other people are controlling unless my name is on the warranty deed and stuff with them. And so for me, I got over aggressive on trying to get this deal done. We expected, with billing the cash, we expected the bill time frame to be 4 months, and so I felt like I could get in and out. I had a good solid contract with him, so I told him, if he worst come to worst, I'll just put a lien on the property, to go get my money back. And it really isn't. I mean, it is as simple as that. But hindsight being 20/20, and knowing better, even, I would not do that again. And here's the reason why.
So always have your name on the property,
Always have your name on the property,
or the second,
or have a second lien.
or have a second.
Well, so and this is the problem with the second lien, which is to a certain degree, I have a lien on the property. The problem with that is enforceability. Control and enforceability is really where the risk should be, instead of, I can put a lien on it and lock the property up to keep him from doing anything with it until I get
But then
paid.
your money is stuck.
Your money's still stuck. My money's still sitting
And
there.
then if they have a loan,
I've gone to
the
court.
bank will be priority over you anyway.
And I've won the judgment. So I've won the judgment on this guy. The property is done. It got built. He took a year longer than he should have, but the property finally got built. He still hasn't sold it, and so I went to court, sued him, won. But now it's one thing to win a judgment, but it's a whole nother to enforce it and to actually get that money. And so now I have the burden of identifying his assets, and then going after those assets to start extracting my money from him.
And come lawyer fees on top of it.
Lawyer fees. Now I was awarded $68,000 in the judgment, which covered my lawyer fees too. But again, call me back here in a few months and I'll tell you how much.
So what do you think what was the mistake, or what happened for, instead of a few months to a year to build?
He just, legitimately, he was just a snake. Overall, he's just a bad guy, and he just didn't honor his agreements at all, which is why it was flagrantly easy to sue him. But that was the main issue. There were parameters I put in the agreement where when he was defaulting or falling short on the timeline, the agreement was to allow me to come in and take over the resources and just get things done. And he wouldn't do that either. So it was a real collapse of the contractual agreement. Once again, something I would never do again. And I'm not a big partnership person. I will partner, but it has really has to be the right circumstances for me to partner, because things change for people, which in his case it did.
Yeah.
So talking about timeline, what's a good time frame somebody should have in mind when they have a deal? On the flip, or maybe rental, or?
So on the flip, on my deals that I did in Mississippi, I went for a specific model where I knew I could pay cash for all the homes I would buy. I wanted to be able to pay cash, and I wanted to have those properties cash flowing within 60 days.
Okay.
And so I proactively went and set up a relationship with Section 8, with the director there, went and met with them, sat and talked with them, got their criteria.
Why Section 8?
Because that's government-funded money that gets deposited right in your account each month without asking. anybody for your money.
As long the person live in it. I do a
As
lot
long
of
as the
Section 8. As
person is
long the
there.
person live, even if when the default.
Even
So
when they
what
default,
happens
that's
if the tenant is not doing what it's supposed to do? You decide to evict them.
Yeah.
As long they're still in the property while you're going through the eviction process,
You
the
still
government
get
will,
paid.
you still
That's
getting
right.
paid.
That's right. That was the lowest.
And they usually lose their voucher after that.
That's exactly right. Which is also a great thing because they don't want to lose their vouchers.
Exactly.
So they, to a certain degree, they adhere. You know, I compare separate from this recent deal I did where I had to sue this guy. I've always gotten into real estate deals more based on risk than just trying to go after a certain amount of money. And I tell people all the time, you know, look at decide on a deal based on your risk. Certainly don't get into anything you're not financially capable of. But even then, once you found a deal that's within your financial withstanding, your decision of whether you're going to do that deal or not has nothing to do with the value that's come off of it. It really is, can you manage the risk? And can you get in and out of it or sustain it, you know, during the time? But that's more financial. But measurement and analysis of risk is more of a deal. And I've learned that more from, like, structuring these performance statements for different type of entities, commercial, residential, what have you, over so many years. You know, when we get into the risk discussion out of those performers, you know, I've seen deals that look great in the performer, cash flow, you know, a lot of value there. But when you start looking at the risk, it really deters you from wanting to invest in it. And I've seen.
But oftentimes, the deal they have the greater risk tend to bring you the most money.
That's exactly right.
Right?
That's right.
So now it depends on your level of tolerance, how much you'll be willing to suffer in case.
Yep. Tolerance is the key word. You know, your ability to, when I say get out of the deal, that tolerance has everything to do with that. You know, can you, when things go bad or things not going as well as possible, can you sustain? Can you live to fight another day until you can turn your dollar? Could
you be patient and not kill everybody around you?
That's it.
Stop yelling.
That's it.
Could you not have a ulcer or cancer because you stress out? Could you sleep at night?
Yep.
All right, guys. I know you're learning a lot, and thank you so much, Rod, for being here. How people can get in touch with you?
Yes, they can call me at 404-414-0716. I'm a freelance investor, so I don't have a website or anything like that. I like to stay pretty low-key. Or they can reach me on my email at rodb@gmail.com.
Okay, so we're learning a lot of nuggets. So we want to make sure for everybody that's watching here, be sure to look at part 2. And that's why we're going to see you soon. I'm Danielle Bilumbu.
I'm Abu Jabi.
See you in next part. I came here in 2007, right in the middle of the crazy crisis. If your heart is not into it, do not do it. That's what I always tell them.
If you're making around $70K, look to be able to qualify for a home somewhere around $250, $275 in that bracket.
Onions and juices and all that, and put some lemon and onion and you make him drink it, right?
And Alex, all my listings need a video. All of them.